gotta welcome them. I'm on a different channel. This is foreign.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is an incredibly special moment in YouTube tech YouTube history. I'm joined by one of my best YouTube friends, Drew from Tailosive Tech, and this collaboration is a very long time coming. It's something that I think we initially tried to do back in April. It
Oh
got a little
yeah,
complicated, a little complicated,
very
but we he just had me on his channel recently, and I of course had to do the same to have him back here. So Andrew, what's
yeah.
up?
It's going good. It's been fun. Yeah, I'm very glad we finally got this to happen. I'm excited to be on this channel finally officially live too. I'm excited to see what kind of questions you got for me, what kind of questions the audience has for us, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, of course. All right. So the first question that I was thinking of, because I was like, okay, Tailosive Tech, where does the name come from? Because my name
Okay.
just came up because I couldn't come up with anything else. But Tailosive Tech,
Yeah.
super interesting name. I'd love to hear the story behind it.
Okay, so like it's really not that different from person to person, right? It's like, well, I guess it sounded good. So, uh, but for me anyways, I was like young before I was into technology at all. I was like into fighter jets and like I wanted to be a pilot when I grew up. And I
No
would just
way.
draw planes and rockets and stuff in just my spare time. But I was always kind of annoyed that like planes and jets were called just boring names like F-22, F-35, B-52. I was like, what if we just gave them an actual name, just like a person? So my probably 7-year-old mind was like tail of a plane, because
Okay.
that's the back of the plane, and explosive, because a missile blows up. So I was like tailosive. That's what no one's thought of, right? Like because we had a YouTube channel before tailosive came about. It was such a generic name. I don't even want to tell anyone what the name is because they'll come and find it. But it was such a generic name that like just if you searched our username, you would get like 80 different channels. It was so
Oh,
bleh, it was generic. So we were like, well, if we use this name we've never thought of before, then if someone searches it, we'll be the only result. It'll be easy. It'll be easier to find us. So yeah, just kind of stuck, and so far it's been going well.
that's
And
so
yeah,
interesting.
a 7-year-old idea of a word that kind of stuck around and now is turning into a brand. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's so awesome. My next question was like, the name is it's not like directly tied to Apple really, but Apple's obviously what you
No.
talk about the most on your channel.
Right.
That's your whole brand. So do you have
Yeah.
plans to expand to other things in the future? Are you gonna still stick mainly to Apple while mildly branching out to like Google, Samsung, and everybody else in
Yeah.
between?
Right. Well, like the idea with not calling myself the Apple sheep, even though like if you YouTube search that, that's what shows up anyway. So it's like even if we changed it, it wouldn't change much. But the idea was like as much as I love Apple, as much as I prefer Apple opposed to anything else, I constantly want to keep in mind that they might not always be the best. So if the day may come where a different company takes them over as best or I think they're better, then I don't want my channel to be tied to that brand if they turn out to not be good, because I don't think they're going to be as much as I love them, I don't think they're going to be the best tech company, in my opinion, forever. I think all
No.
companies fail, all companies get replaced. So that's why I was like, nah, don't pick something that's so exclusively Apple that no matter what you can't defend them, because there's plenty of times in which I can't defend them. It happens all the time.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I'll give everybody a preview here. For the first time I've ever talked about it, there may be a name change coming to my channel soon.
Oh, dope.
Just
Okay.
very subtle. Like the core of it's gonna stay the same, but I kind of had the same thinking. Like I update OS, it's tied sort of to iOS and to Apple, and
Yeah,
it's not like I'm
right.
ever gonna go away from doing that. Just like you mentioned, like as long as it's
For
popular,
sure.
as long as it's something that you care about, you're never gonna
Right.
change it. But definitely like looking forward long term. That once again, like the name. Sometimes I make names and I was like 13 or something at the time, and I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, oh, this sounds cool, but we'll see. I'll have to
I
let
think
you
my
know in the future.
email, yeah, I think my email to this day is still like Mac Kid or something. It's like
Yeah, I saw that. When I
when
sent
you're
my
like,
audio to you, it was like Mac Kid, and I was like, what? What is
it shows you like how long I've not changed anything. And yeah, for a long time before we started doing like the Tailosive network, the whole branch of channels, and it was just Tailosive. views were dead. You know, no one watched our stuff, and the only real reason we started making the other channels was because it was like, well, no one's looking up the word Tailosive. It's so unique, no one cares. You know, like no one's stumbling onto Tailosive, so we had to start making stuff that people might actually be looking for. So that's when
Yeah.
it was like, I care about tech stuff, so maybe I'll try tech stuff. But that obviously did really well.
Yeah, obviously, dude, you're almost at
Yeah,
100,000
you
subscribers.
do. You're
Am I?
close, closer
I
than I
haven't
am.
checked. I haven't checked in 4 years. You know,
You're
it
less
just
than
kind
a
of happens.
you're less than 1,000 away. You're so close.
Yeah, dude, it's
I'm so
insane.
I'm so
So
happy for
thank you. I'm happy for you as well. So what is
you.
100,000? I'll share my thoughts on that in a little bit. What are your thoughts and feelings? Because that's a huge milestone. That's a place that most YouTubers never get to.
That's true, and it's a really surreal moment for me because I've been watching YouTube ever since I was like a cringy 8-year-old. Now I'm a cringy 20-year-old, and still
Same.
find I was watching YouTube channels. My favorite of all time hit 100K, and I was like, wow, my favorite YouTube channel. They made it in the big leagues. Now they hit 100K, and to finally get that to here, it's like, this is it really? Is this happening? Is this actually happening? So that's my thought process now in like a million. Is it's like I see my favorite YouTube channels crossing a million and going, wow, that's insane. But
Yeah.
you know, this 100K was insane not too long ago. So the fact that we're just now hitting that is crazy. We do a special video every time we add a digit. So it's
Okay.
very rare that we make like a special video and do something special on our channel. But there is something special happening over on Tailosive Tech
Yes.
when we do hit 100K. And I'm excited to hear your rebrand too. You're getting me
Yeah.
all pumped up for it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited for it. It's like it's one of those goals that when you start out on YouTube, you never like as much as you believe that like, oh, I'm gonna hit a million in 2 days or I'm gonna get
Yeah,
that million view video instantly.
right.
Like it doesn't really happen. Like to this day, I'm not sure what your highest viewed video is, but I think my highest is like 500,000, which
That's
is
hot.
like
That's good.
good. Yeah, it's good, but like it's still not the million. And I remember back when
Right.
YouTube started because it was harder and easier. I think back in the day because there was less competition, but also not as many people were watching. So like now we have
Right.
that flip where the entire world is on YouTube,
Right.
but there's also I mean I see a new tech channel every day that I've never heard about that's making great
Exactly.
videos,
There's
and
so
I'm just
many.
like, I don't know that these people exist, and they're only like 10,000 subscribers less than me or 20,000, and it's
Right.
crazy like how news comes out as you just publish your USB-C on the iPhone video,
Yeah.
and everybody has a different take on it.
Right. It all happens at the same time. It's also harder now because back when I started my YouTube channel, getting monetized was like the easiest thing ever. It was like clicking a button and it was like, all right,
Yeah,
you set up a Sense account, you're all good. Now it's near impossible. It's like they keep like dangling the carrot further and further and further, which is hard. So I'm just like, man, it's yeah, like you said, there's more resources now. There's more opportunities and technology that's more affordable that a lot of people didn't have at the beginning. So yeah, very well said. It's easier and harder at the same time. It's tricky.
yeah, it really is. I want to hear about your USB-C on the iPhone story because I
Okay.
recently made a video. I can't wait for it to happen. I hope it's true.
Right.
USB-C in
Right.
2019 confirmed?
Let me be very, very clear. I'm with you. I want it to happen. I'm sporting the USB support here. Okay,
Yes,
like
yes, I
I'm
see it.
all
I see
for it.
it.
Do I think it will happen? No. I
Okay.
don't think Apple will make that step because I think they're too busy with the complaints about notches, prices, Touch ID, Face ID. They're all focused on that, and they're really just tired of like the port argument. And they know that when they switch to a different port, they're just going to get a whole nother outcry from a certain part of their audience that says, "What? I can't use my old chargers and accessories anymore." And switching away from Lightning is not just an iPhone decision. It's a Magic Keyboard decision. It's a Magic Mouse decision, Apple TV decision, AirPods decision. And I think they're just too far into it that at this point, if they switch to USB-C on the iPhone, it's just going to clutter and complicate the lineup even more. That I see Apple's side of it and I can see their reasoning, but personally, I still think they should just do it. I don't even care. I wish they would just commit and be like, you know what? This is better. This is the last port. This is the new standard. Ship your phones with USB-C to USB-C cables, please. not old cables that can't plug into new MacBooks and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. A lot of people think I defend Apple no matter what, especially with this last video. I'm ripping them a new one. I'm
Yeah.
pretty upset with the way it is right now.
Yeah, very fair. I'm with you. I want to see it, but and as much I really hope I'm with you. Like I hope the rumor is true because it's so inconvenient to have a lightning port on my keyboard and on my
Yeah.
iPhone, but then my MacBook only has USB-C, and
Right?
then my iMac Pro has USB-C and USB-A, but no Lightning. And it's just weird. It's definitely, I feel like we're in a transition point right now, even though we're not really in one, but it's definitely
Right.
weird. And like, I know to this day, like, you cannot plug in, this is what blows my mind the most. You can't plug in an iPhone that you unbox into a
Right.
MacBook without buying an adapter.
You can't. You
Yeah.
need to buy something, which is
Like,
ridiculous.
it is ridiculous.
Yeah. It brings up another point that I think about too, because I try to look at things from both angles. And one thing I think about is like, the MacBook is all in on USB-C, but it's all Thunderbolt 3, right? And those are like powerful ports that can transfer a lot of data. And Thunderbolt 3 is not the same technology they put on mobile phones, like on even on your S9s and your Pixels. I don't believe the USB-C port is that powerful. It's a more toned down version of USB-C that can just support the charging, maybe some light data transfer, and that's it. So is the confusion between like we don't want to make USB-C cables unless they're Thunderbolt 3 supported, and that's why they cost so much? In which case, this effort to like make one port for everything actually has made it more complicated because now there's like 5 different versions of the same port. So it's
Yeah.
like, how do they handle this?
Yeah,
How do they?
no, it is. It's tricky, and like I could just see the public outcry. Like I just see that like generic Twitter account, like
Mhm.
teen tweets would be like, "You have to get rid of all your accessories for iPhone 7 and above," and everybody's gonna be like,
Right,
"Oh my God, Apple's the worst!" Like I remember when
right.
they switched from Lightning, people were going insane.
That
They
was a
were just
big,
like, Apple's the worst. They're gonna tear me. They all they care about is money, and it's like, listen, like
right,
every 5 or so years, you gotta switch until the new version comes out. That's how
right.
technology works. Like this is why we're
Mhm.
getting the headphone jack because there's functionally a better way to listen to music in 2018 than there was in 1970.
And they even dug this pit further down by shipping all the iPhones with Lightning ear pods. Now,
Mhm.
all of those would be useless if they switched to USB-C. So it's just like, do they include USB-C headphones now? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
this.
don't know. I guess they'd have to, right?
They'd have to, unless they like either do one terrible idea, not include headphones with the purchase. I would hate that,
That would be
or
bad. People
go
would go crazy.
make them cost way more and include AirPods with the purchase, which would be kind of cool but very expensive.
Yeah. Gosh, that would be so cool. I mean, people would talk about the total opposite. People would go crazy if Apple had AirPods because that'd be such a great thing.
Yeah, I'm in the boat. A lot of people disagree with me on this. I'm actually curious what your thoughts are, but I personally think a lot of people disliked the iPhone 10 because it was $1,000 phone, but it included slow charger, Lightning ear pods that don't work on anything. I think they would have been better off making the iPhone 10 cost even more, like more towards 1100, 1200, but just make it like the best package ever. Like you get AirPods, you get a fast charger, USB-C to Lightning, then it can plug directly into your MacBook. Maybe even throw in a Qi charger of sorts. Like instead, make it more money than it already is, but it really worth it. Like you're getting a
Yeah.
big stuff. That's what I would have liked to see.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I mean, if you go up in price any more than the iPhone 10, which is 1,000, people are just gonna go crazy. But it does feel
Yeah,
like Apple shipped this super premium phone with
mhm,
totally non-premium, like
exactly.
baseline cheap accessories. Because like the power brick is still 5 watts. I think it hasn't it been like that since the original iPhone
Yeah, like they've never changed it in 10 years. It's always
until
been.
we're hearing
You
this year it could possibly get better.
hope so. They said the same thing last year. That's why I'm always like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know,
I,
right? It's like you get your hopes up and then it never happens.
right, right. So that's why I'm telling people keep the hopes down because if USB-C on the iPhone did happen, I'd be like, Thank you. A lot of
Yes.
people be upset, but I'm okay with it. I can
Yeah.
adapt. I can buy new cables. It's not that hard.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel the exact same way.
So
But a lot of people, like the
cool.
general populace, they do not like new ports at
They
all.
don't like change. Yeah.
No.
They don't.
Yeah.
They have to buy new things. They want new things, but they don't want to change the way they do anything. That
Yeah.
was kind of
It's
my
interesting.
biggest complaint with the new MacBooks. Is people are like, "Oh, I don't want these new ports," or I don't like the Touch Bar." And it's like, what do you want? Because like they still
Yeah.
sell the 2015 MacBook. It's like,
Yeah.
did they just make faster and nothing else? That's it. I don't know. I don't know what
Yeah.
they want. Could
That's
never play.
yeah. You can't, and then you'll always get those comments from people that are like, Apple is dying, the company's going terribly, like get Tim Cook out of there. It's just
Right,
like, all right, everybody relax, it's gonna be all right. Change is okay.
right. You don't have to buy these
Speaking,
things.
yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of change, I wanna
Yeah.
pivot to college, because this is something that
Oh,
we
okay.
talked about on, I think, our first ever like time we spoke, the one that didn't end up getting recorded, which is a story for another day. On you can listen to it on Drew's podcast. But
Yeah.
you are not in college, correct?
No, I've been out for
Okay.
2 years now. Two
Oh my
years.
gosh, that's crazy. So did you? How long did you go before you decided to switch to YouTube?
So, in all honesty, my last year of high school was at college. I did 3 years of high school, and then I did a college
Oh
connection
wow.
program where I for free you got to go to a community college, not a big one, but just a college for your senior year. You just had to finish out your units. And
Hmm.
the idea of that program was just to give you a taste of what it's like because you can still sign up for college classes, all those electives you want. You get the college atmosphere. You are enrolled as a college student, but you're also just slightly enrolled as a high school student at the same time. So the
Okay.
reason I wanted to do that was I just hated high school. I found the whole thing useless. I was like, I'm not learning anything. And people kept telling me, well, when you get to college, like you get more hands on. You get to choose the classes you want. There's more freedom. They don't take roll.
Mm.
They don't have all these restrictions. So I finally get to college, and they do take roll. By the way, that was the biggest lie. They always check,
Yeah.
and the same problem started showing up because I was like, oh great, now I can take the classes that I'm interested in. So let's take like film production, let's take web design, let's take business because that's what I'm interested in. And
Hmm.
all of these classes turned into just like fill out the worksheet and show up on time and check the right boxes and read this chapter. And if you don't read this chapter, and I didn't feel like I was learning anything. I had already made my website before going into web design, and this web design class was actually lesser of web, like lower class web design than I had done on my own. Film
Yeah.
class, I ended up teaching the teacher how to do certain things in Adobe Premiere. At the time, I was all about Premiere, and he was teaching it, so it was like the worst possible place for me. And we were looking at me and my family because like basically my two older sisters went to college, and I'm the youngest in the family, so it was assumed that I would follow in their footsteps and also go to college. So we were looking around at prices and tuition, and I was just like, you know, this is like probably going to be like the second most expensive thing in my life, other than like a house. Like,
Yeah.
we shouldn't really invest so much money into this unless I'm absolutely sure I want to do it. And I'm not sure right now. I really don't think this is a good way to go. I don't want to like spend 30 grand or 40 grand a semester to find out, oh, this is all stuff I could have done myself. I know that community college is not the same thing as like a full university, but I'm just saying that's an expensive mistake.
Oh
Like
yeah.
my oldest sister went to film school herself, and by the time she was out of it, she really didn't make movies anymore. She just wasn't as interested in that. I was like, well, I don't want to go to college and then decide I don't want to make videos anymore. So that's when I found a job at a mandarin ranch because we're out in a rural area out here. And I did that part time and then part time YouTube because YouTube started making a little bit of money, but definitely not enough to live off of.
Mm.
So I worked about 5 days a week on the ranch. And whenever I would get done working at the ranch, I would come home and start working on YouTube. And I did that for a year. And then I quit my ranch job to pursue YouTube full time last June. So it's just marked 1 year of me doing YouTube full time. And since then, we've moved
Wow.
into the Oroville office, and now we've moved up to the Chico office. And it's been great so far. And I'm never swearing off college entirely, but so far I haven't needed it. So I'm gonna keep going as long as I can without it because I kind of like working for myself. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I feel that so much. Like I'm enjoying summer more than this summer.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm enjoying more than any summer that I've
yeah,
enjoyed before because
glad
the
to hear it.
last sophomore year was just like it was the hardest year of my life. It's probably second hardest year of my life. Like
Sorry.
classes actually got hard. I
Yeah,
was an RA and like my floor was just like stereotypical like historically troubled floor. Like every day there was some random issue or they were problematic. And it was just like every day I had to be like, hey guys, it's quiet hours. Hey guys. And
yeah,
like it's so weird because I never like I mentioned it a couple times on YouTube, but like
yeah.
nobody really calculates like how taxing it is to be like, okay, I wake up every day at 10 a.m. I go to class from 10 to 11. Then
Right,
at 11 to 12, I work out. Then I eat lunch from 12 to 1. Then from 1 to 3 before my next class, I make a YouTube video. Then from 3 to
right.
4:15, I'm in class. And then I have to go to this meeting at 5 p.m. And then I eat like it's just
No freedom.
nonstop.
Yeah,
And I got to a point where it was just like every single day for like 3 weeks was nonstop like that. Like not exaggerating, just constant. And I was like, this is not fun. Like this is not what like the best years of your life should feel like, even though you
right.
are working on a degree or are accomplishing something. But
Yeah,
for now, like still sticking it out. I'm still like I'm still able to do YouTube and college at the same time, but like it has taken so many conversations with other people to convince me to stay. Like conversations with professors, conversations with parents, because it's so tempting. Like when you have this platform that like is generating revenue, and you see
right.
it coming in, you're like, man, I don't know, is school even important? And like it's so hard to stay, but like I really respect your decision. Like obviously it's working out super well because you're almost at 100K and you're making money and you're loving it. And I think that's important. At the end of the day is like you have to just find what you really enjoy doing, which
Right.
rather than just like, oh, you're supposed to do this, so go ahead and do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a lot of what was happening with my life because that was a very difficult decision to make given everyone else I knew, all my friends, all my closest friends and family I knew were all looking at colleges, they were all applying and I was just like I don't feel like this is right. I don't feel like this is the right move. I feel like I'm going to spend a bunch of money but ultimately just complain about it and want to do something else. And I completely understand your opinion as well because there's a lot less security with the decision I made of like
Yeah.
making all these investments and all these big jumps in expenses because we don't know exactly if it's going to work out. We don't have a fixed income. Like
Exactly.
YouTubers, we could make a bunch this month and nothing next month. And
Yeah.
to try to have bills that you pay and expenses to pay for and not know if you can have this job in 30 days, like that's extremely so I completely understand people like not wanting to make that choice, and I can't fault you for it. I understand it's a sketchy road to go down, and my approach to that has always been consider failure always possible. You need to always be ready to pack all this up, sell it all, get rid of it all in an instant if we need to. Like
Hmm.
I'm always considering that possible. So I'm just like, this could go horribly wrong, but I'd like to try first. And
Yeah.
if I do try and it goes horribly wrong and I give it my best, then I'll know that wasn't an option rather than going the other way and realizing that what could it have been? I just didn't want
Yeah.
to deal with it. So it's still dangerous. I could still crash next month and, and back everything up. We don't know, but yeah, I wish all the best to you. I hope summer goes well. You get some more freedom for yourself, and you get to self manage and self employ, which is cool.
Yeah. Thank you. You hit
There's a
it.
lot
Yeah,
of
you hit the nail on the head there when you were talking about like the income going up and down, and like I
yeah,
totally feel you. Like some months it's like, wow, this is the YouTube money they talk about, and then other months
right,
it's like, all right, we're doing the wheat bread because it's cheaper.
yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, I completely understand both ways. So
Yeah.
I hope all the best for you. I hope the views keep going. It looks like they keep going up from my point of view. So I don't see why you can't pursue it yourself. I think you're extremely self motivated and you've clearly got what it takes. So I'm excited to
Thanks.
see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's so cool, and I think it's especially cool that like we're both like around the same size. Like it's not like one of us is 40K or 50K above the other. Like we're both going through the
Right.
same things, and like we're doing the same news, and like we're not doing the same videos though. Like I'll do like an
Right.
iPhone rumors video in a totally different way than you do, and I think that's
Right.
what's so appealing about like just YouTube in general, because you can find that perspective that you're looking for. Like someone has
Right.
that perspective on the iPhone that either you want to hear or you gravitate to, or the complete opposite opinion that you're going to get angry about and write that comment about. Like this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's so cool that like even though we have like similar channel sizes, I feel like our fan bases are similar but also different in a lot
Right.
of ways, which is super cool.
Like I said in the podcast, it's almost like we could have a perfect Venn diagram, because it's like, if Apple does this, we will talk about it, but we'll talk about it in different ways. And I think you're really really good at highlighting the software side of things and all the changes and all the comparisons, and I'm handling a lot of the like potential hardware, how Apple could do things, which is
Mm-hmm.
interesting for both our audiences. But luckily, we're both able to upload things pretty regularly and usually keep both parties interested, which is impressive. I didn't have
Yeah.
that growing.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Like everything's just so different because I only started watching YouTube when I was like 13 or 14, and even then
Right.
like just like the vast majority of information that we have access to or that like we can put out is just it's insane. Like no one had
Right.
this 50 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. It's impressive. And like when I was growing up, watching YouTube videos, it was like if you found a channel, they uploaded like twice a week. And now I like this community of not small but pretty big channels that upload fairly regularly, keeping things quick to the point, get your information and get out. And I think everyone on the platform is improving in that way. Just
Mhm.
say what you need to say, move on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. All right, you want to switch over to chat now and answer some
Okay.
questions?
I'm sure the chat's wanting some attention too.
Yes, I'm sorry. I do have to give one shout out. I saw, I think, one super chat from All I Talk is Tech. He said,
Uh-huh.
199, thank you so much. Here for hitting 100K. So shout out to him, or them, I should say. And then I believe that's the only super chat that I needed to talk about. Oh, wait, there were two from All I Talk is Tech. The other one says,
Thank
love your videos. You guys inspire me to make my own. Fantastic. Good luck with
you.
YouTube.
Cool. Growing it up. Awesome. So if you guys have like questions in the chat, you feel free to ask away. Have you like I forgot to ask. I apologize. Do you still have WatchOS 5 on your watch? Or did you not mess with that?
No, I'm on WatchOS 4. I'm scared.
That's understandable. You see, like the different approaches we have towards things. It's like that could go really wrong, so I don't want to do it. And I'm like, that could go really wrong, but whatever. I'll just do it.
Yeah,
Yes, I
no,
can see that. Ask.
yeah. Did you update like to like the new seed that they released?
Um, Basically, as soon as WatchOS 5 was available after the keynote, we got that one. So
Okay, okay.
I don't know if there was a new one that's been out already, but
Because
basically
I
from
saw
what I
that they recalled it.
right, they turned that one down. Basically, it was bricking watches if like you couldn't get past the boot up. So I've gotten past the boot up, so I'm in the safe zone as of now. Like it doesn't brick after you've installed it, but
Okay.
we didn't know about the bricking when we first got it, so we were just like, oh, it's time to download it. Here we
Yeah,
go.
let's go.
We found out afterwards that it could have been bad, but we were like, it's too late now. So yeah, that's where I stand.
No, that's totally a good move. Like the features are probably worth it. I'm scared that my child will die.
I don't blame you. Like the WatchOS 5 feed, they're cool, but I could live without them for sure. Like Walkie Talkie's not even ready yet. The app's there, but it just says coming soon. That's all it says. Like I don't know if
Dang.
you could see it. It's just like not out
Yeah.
yet. But probably the most noticeable change with WatchOS 5 is that when I start walking, it'll automatically be like, "Do you want to start a workout?" And I can just hit start, and then when I stop, it's like time to finish. That saves so much time. That's probably the biggest change so
That's
far.
super cool because I cannot like there's so many times that I've just done a workout and it either hasn't picked it up or like I've just forgotten to start it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No."
Right. Like I'm just working out for myself. I
Yeah,
need it to be
what?
remembered.
Yeah, why would I ever work out just to better myself? Gosh.
Not why we work out.
Yeah.
There's no
Shout out to Viper in the chat. He says, "What's up, people? Love this collab. Thank you for the super chat."
Yeah, I love Viper. I was just watching his stream.
Sweet. Let's see. We got. When do you think iOS 12 Beta 2 will be out? Thoughts, Drew?
Shouldn't it be soon?
I
Shouldn't it be
think
the
it
next?
should be. Yeah, this coming week.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Usually, like especially with iOS 11, there were betas. Like it felt like every Friday there was a different beta.
Yeah.
So I assume maybe this one's a bit more stable. So there might not be as many. I don't know if we'll get to 12.4 this year. Maybe there just
Yeah.
won't be
Who
that.
knows?
But yeah, I think beta 2 should be next couple weeks, if per usual. But I don't have leaks or anything. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I wish. Like, I'm always waiting for that day till a source just like slides into the DMs and is like, "Here's the new iPhone," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Sweet, thanks."
Comments from people that are like treating you like you've got some kind of foot in the door at Apple, or like your
Yeah.
customer support people are like, so when's AirPower coming out? And you're like, how would I know? I don't know. Hopefully soon. Like,
Yeah.
it's asking.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
I don't.
people think like Apple talks to us and they're like, "Yo,
Right.
Tailosive, like AirPower, May 1st, May 1st."
Yeah, but don't tell anyone. We're telling the
Yeah,
press. We don't want the press to tell anyone. That's the funniest thing about the mindset to me.
yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
well, Apple told me, but I can't tell. I can't talk about it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, yeah. Me and Tailosive know when AirPower is coming. We have it. We can't talk about it.
right.
I wish I could actually say that unironically.
Yeah. If they did, I'd be happy, but no,
Yeah.
they. What
We
you
got
guys?
another super chat from Apple Juice. Thank you for that. iOS 12, make the iPad Pro more of a laptop replacement.
Mm, like they're getting closer and closer. Now it feels like they're wanting to make it a bigger iPhone 10 with iOS 12 with the gesture controls and stuff. But like, is it really the hardware that's preventing it from being a laptop replacement, or is it more just like the Pro apps that aren't there? Like,
I think it's the Pro apps.
yeah, I would agree. Like, I think if they started moving things like Final Cut or Final Cut to the iPad, people would be like, "Oh, great, this is a laptop replacement." So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's obviously going to be this barrier between what a touch interface can do and what a mouse can do, and I'm not even sure if there's even a way to surpass that with a touch interface. Maybe there is, but even with a stylus, I feel like doesn't quite get you the preciseness of what a mouse can get you.
Yeah, I agree. There's something that I really enjoy about both. Like Apple definitely made the right choice, like no stylus on the iPhone because it feels excessive.
Right.
But I do really enjoy touching sometimes. But then again, when I'm on my iMac, like right now, I wouldn't want to be like tapping and touching things just because
No.
that's unnatural when it's like facing you like this. You don't want to touch screens like that. It's weird.
Right. Have you ever experimented with like, because I think Microsoft has had, I don't think the better choice, but an interesting choice of saying like, well, we want touch interface laptops and tablets. So they have kind of hybrids of everything. So their approach to the desktop with the Surface Studio is like, well, you don't want to reach up and touch it, but you can lower it down to the ground and then touch with it that way. Like, have you ever messed around with the Surface Studio?
I have not. It looks beautiful. It's a beautiful machine,
Yeah, it's
but I have not actually used it.
I've only messed around with one at Best Buy. I've thought about buying one not to keep, but just to review and then just returning it afterwards. But like,
Hmm.
I can't after thinking like, well, first of all, I don't draw, so that crosses out like
Yeah.
90 what that's for. Like, and am I gonna edit videos and just drop the whole thing down?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Like I'm editing right now, like a wizard.
yeah, exactly. I can't think of a use for it, but I just thought it was interesting that Microsoft's approach. Well, we can turn the touch interface downward, and Apple's
Yeah,
just like, no, leave it there, don't touch it.
yeah. No, I agree. It's a weird implementation. I'm very happy that Apple is stuck to like the majority, like mouse on desktop and then touchscreen on mobile, because the blending of both it feels a little cheesy and gimmicky a lot of the time.
Right. It's like it's what do they say? Jack of all trades and master of none. Like it can do everything, but it's not great at anything.
Yeah,
That's
I agree
kind of how I
completely.
felt when I reviewed the Surface Pro and the Surface Book.
Yeah. All right. Here's another question from Photo Mojo Ryzen. Love the name.
Right.
Sam, are you still sweet on iOS 12? I am still on iOS 12. I really like it. I want to say
Good.
Drew's on iOS 12 as well, right?
Absolutely. We don't have an iOS 11 device. We
Oh my, that's a big step. I don't know if we're
that's
ready. I don't know if we're there yet.
like we just returned the iPod Touch I did a video on. We put iOS 12 on it, and then we didn't even put iOS 11 back on. We just handed it back to Apple. They were like, okay,
Oh, they're in for
I
a
don't know.
treat.
They can figure it out. They know how to
Yeah,
fix.
yeah,
I don't
they're
have to
Apple.
kind of things.
Yeah. So what is your favorite iOS 12 feature? This is a good conversation.
I think the most noticeable one is still group notifications. That's something that just like wasn't a
Bless
big pop.
up, bless up.
Right. It's about time. And a lot of the features I'm looking forward to don't really work yet. I don't know if you've tried using group FaceTime yet, but we tried it and it's definitely not ready. It's extremely buggy and it's not
Mm-hmm.
working yet. Which it's a beta one, so I can't
Yeah,
complain. But
of course.
the I guess they talked about it, but maybe I glossed over it. But the battery data over time, when you go into settings and you see how long your phone uh, was on for screen time and how long it took to charge and stuff like that, I didn't realize they added that. That's something that Androids had that I've really Android. So I was like, oh, that's cool that they're adopting that over there. So those are probably my two biggest features. Not big ones, but I don't need iOS 12 to be massive. I just need it to be stable, focused, get everything right, and then done.
Yeah, I agree. I love group FaceTime, but like you said, it's so buggy right now. I've tried to make a
Yeah.
video on it, and like the animojis like flash glitch, and like
Right.
people don't show up, and I like once again it's a beta. I can't complain. Like
Right.
it's obviously
That's
not
how
the
it
release
is.
version of iOS 12, but it's a super cool feature. But I have to agree with you completely. Like if I had to pick a feature that was the most beneficial, group notifications. I did not realize how big of a problem iOS had with notifications until I got
Right.
notifications.
Right. I usually would just turn off apps that sent me a lot, but I would still run into times where people just text me like crazy. And the
Hmm.
fact that it compiles them all together is so helpful. I like the way they do that. And I know Android's had it for years, but I don't like the way Android does it personally. It still feels cluttered and crowded and crunched down. Like all the notifications get kind of smushed to the side and in a bit. The Android always seems to be like, how much info can we stuff on the screen at once? And what I
Yeah.
like about iOS is that the notifications are still grouped, but they're like not too much at once. It's still like up and center, and you can read the first one and you can expand it. So like
Hmm.
it's one of those classic examples for me of like Apple's never first to anything. We never say Apple's first to something. They get it right. They wait.
Yeah, I agree
Sometimes.
completely. It's incredible.
And another thing that I don't notice on my day to day, but I think we really need to give credit towards is how helpful iOS 12 is to older iOS devices. We put it on our
Yes.
and it drastically speeds up the performance of a phone that's
Wow.
so old and not bent, by the way. Like, right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the performance. Like I wish I had in my speed test that I did it on an iPhone 8 and like I noticed improvements there and I was like if I'm seeing these
Right.
improvements on the iPhone 8 from
You're right.
9 months ago, I mean, I can only imagine on the iPhone 6, especially the iPhone 5S. Like
Mm.
it's like this is what should happen every year and we just haven't had it in so long or maybe even ever that now that we finally have it, I'm like, wow, like iOS was
Yeah.
actually kind of bad for a number of years.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm glad they made that decision, and it's impressive. It makes me wonder if like, will the iPhone 10 we're using now ever get the iOS update from 6 years from now? Will it be able to support it
Yeah.
that long? Maybe. Maybe it
Yeah.
will. Maybe it'll be faster than it is right now. I don't know.
That would be
That's
like that's what
impressive.
software should do, right? That would be so. That's
Right.
kind of what Tesla does. Is like they're always making these updates to their cars that when you buy it, you're promised certain hardware specs, but then the software unlocks more, which is an amazing concept and something that I really hope we see companies like Apple and like Google and Samsung
Right.
follow in the future.
Right. Software's supposed to make things get better over time, and I think
Hmm.
that uh, certain companies have gotten people into the opinion that software updates are bad. You know that you
Hmm.
should dread updates, but they really shouldn't be that way. We should really look forward to these things, and that's what I like about Apple is that WWDC every single year we can look forward to updates that everyone's gonna get, not 6%, everyone.
Mhm.
Everyone can look forward to that, whether you bought a phone last year, the year before that, or the year before that, or the year before that. We're all getting changes. Like even
Yeah.
the iPod Touch now has the option to hold the space bar and use the keyboard as a trackpad. Like
Yeah.
that is still getting new features, which is
Yeah.
weird to me.
It is weird because Android just doesn't exist. Like
No,
Android phones don't get new features. Like what you get is what
no,
you get, and if you get an update, you're lucky. And I'm not saying this from like I'm an Apple fanboy perspective. Like after owning
no.
Android phones, it's just like the update system is beyond broken, just
Right.
totally beyond broken, and
Mhm.
none of the companies seem to care.
That's what kind of bummed me out about Google I/O is it was like Google was like, clearly from our point of view and from a developer point of view, when you have a very fragmented bunch of devices, it means that developers can't optimize things for all devices. They can really only optimize for a couple when there's so many different versions of Android. And when that happens, it's like Google didn't want to fix that problem. At Google I/O, they weren't talking about it. They were just like, "No, we're
Yeah.
we're we're still gonna keep doing what we're doing. Just keep adding on to the Google Assistant. Keep adding on to AI. That's it. That's all you get.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like not addressing any problems." Whereas iOS 12, while borrowing a lot of features from Android P for sure, I think the big difference that matters so much about Android fragmentation is that people are getting iOS 12. Whereas
Hmm.
Android P, while it may have those cool features, not very many people are going to get it. So
Yeah.
what difference does it make?
Yeah. The stats for Android N are just
Ooh.
awful. Like, what was it, like 5% of the Android install base has
Right.
Android N? Like,
And the sad
just,
thing is it's getting worse.
yeah.
And like Apple always brings up what percentage of Android are running the latest version. And last year it was 7%. This year it's 6. Like it's
Yeah.
not really increasing or getting better in any way. Whereas Apple's very, very optimized and sure about getting everyone on the latest iOS as much as possible.
Yeah. I agree completely. All right, we got another super chat. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with these. From John Hagen.
Sure.
John Hagen, thank you. In your opinion, what would be, ooh, this is good. What would be one mistake by Apple to get you to switch off of the platform?
Ooh. Okay. So it'd be pretty difficult, I think, to be one mistake. I feel like it would probably have to be a bunch, but maybe one giant step in that direction could be like, again, this is something Apple probably would never do, but like if they started outsourcing their software to other third parties. I think if they started putting iOS on non-Apple made devices, it would start being more inconsistent and more complicated, and people would be unsure if they would get certain updates, that it would probably fall into more of the problems Androids had. So that would be a big one. That's kind of important to me, that everything's optimized and running fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of one big mistake, I can't really think of one. Usually it's like a bunch of little mistakes that gets you to switch away from a brand. It's like things just keep stacking up.
Yeah.
And even that, like, because Apple's not perfect. We both know that. They make mistakes all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason we keep coming back to them is that we just kind of know there's not really a better. And
Yeah.
maybe Apple doesn't even have to make a big mistake. There just has to be someone who makes something better than them in even my eyes. Right now, I don't think anyone is. But if someone were able to match all the exclusives in the ecosystem that they have, then I would be
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, there's really no reason for me to stick with Apple. Might have to just switch because someone else is better, not because anything's wrong. Just someone else outdoes them at their own game.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Mm-hmm.
Another question I've got to go through. My camera is flashing battery low, so if I just cut out
Oh
here,
no.
hopefully I won't. But I want to get through these questions at least in case it has to end. Apple Juice
Okay.
asked, Drew Sam, like best, iPad Pro 10.5 or 12.9 and why? I'm going to go 10.5 because the 12.9 screen is just too big for me.
Really? Yeah. I'm like, when the new iPads come out, I'm very curious to see how they handle bezels. The reason I went 10.5 was I had a 12.9 before. I had a MacBook Pro at the time, so having a 13-inch iPad and a 15 MacBook was like redundant. It was just unnecessary. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, with iPad, I'll get something more smaller, more compact. So also thinner bezels. So if the bezels are like even thinner on the 10.5 inch when the new ones come out, I'll probably go back to that. But also, if they're the same size bezels on the 13-inch, I don't have a MacBook anymore, so it won't be as redundant. I might go back up to 15. We'll see.
Yeah,
I,
that is true.
I
I've got
really,
that MacBook to fill that void, but if you don't, I could see
exactly.
that.
Yeah, I'm either desktop or iOS now. Like I don't have a mobile Mac OS machine anymore just because of our editing station. So yeah, I could go back to the 13-inch if I really wanted to. I think I might go back. Honestly, be cool to have the giant tablet again. They're huge. They're
Yeah,
crazy.
they are. They're super, super big. But oh, they're so cool. Like part of me wants the 12.9 inch, but the other part of me is like, I don't know, it's a little bit large.
It is pretty. It's pretty impractical. It can get to that point. I do like the lightness of the 10.5, and I'm talking to you on it right now. It's been a great iPad. I was bummed out that there weren't new ones at the keynote, but I'm also happy because there's nothing wrong with mine. It's still
Yeah.
running fine. Did I lose him? Oh no. Can the audience see me? Oh no. R.I.P. the stream.